Hey guys, Davis here. Welcome back to Tech-Junkie. In today's video, I'll show you how to promote additional domain controller to your domain. In general, any production environment should at least have multiple domain controllers for resilience or distributing the workload between them. There are also considerations like site and subnet assignment, replication intervals, kind of things. Okay. In previous episode, we deployed the DCO tool using the cloning technique. So we are going to use the DCO tool as the additional domain controller. First things first, give it a proper IP address. You will need a static IP address. Oops. So it's 111.102. 101 is the DCO one. Gateway. So, like I said in the previous episode, for domain controller, you should point the other domain controller first, then point to yourself. Okay. Let's join the domain. Come on. Simple lab.int. Cool. Maybe perhaps I should use demo admin 01. Cool. Let's log in as demo admin 01. Demo admin 01. I don't want that. I don't want the search box. The next few steps is pretty much like promoting the first domain controller. First, we install the domain services roles on the server. Come on. Next. Domain services. Add features. Next. Install. Let me pause the video and save you some time. Okay, the role is installed. Let's promote this server to a domain controller. As we are already joined the domain, and currently I'm logged in as the demo admin 01, which is a domain admin in this domain. So we can use the Windows credential current user. We don't have to input the credential twice. Still, we have to give it a DSRM password. And as you can see, this is the second domain controller of the domain. So we have a option to install this domain controller as a read-only domain controller, but I'm not gonna do that. And the domain controller will serve as DNS server and global catalog. There's a site name, like I mentioned before. We should consider to edit or change the site for the whole domain services. I will talk about this later in the video. So at the moment, we will use the default first site name. Next, nothing we can do about it. Next. Okay, from that, if you are promoting a domain controller on a remote site with a very limited level link, so you can export most of the data from one of the domain controller using NTDS utility. Then using this option to import the basic data from the archive. It will save you some time for a very small link, but in most situations, if you have a fast link, we don't need to do that. So there's another option that you can select which domain controller you got the replication from for the initial setup. So it does not make a big difference for me because I have only one domain controller currently. So next, default location for the database log and sys volume folder. Okay, next. That basically probably that's it. Install. Like the first one, after the installation, it will automatically reboot, and after the reboot, it give it some time. It will contact the first domain controller. It will calculate the replication length between the domain controller, and got all things replicated to this new domain controller, DCO2. Just wait for it, because for this lab, the database of the domain controller of the Active Directory is very small, so it won't take long. Yep. Okay. While we just promoting the new domain controller, we can log in the DCO1 to have a brief check. DSA.msc will call the domain users and computers. So after we promote the domain controller to a after we the DC promotion, the member server will automatically move to the domain controller's OU. And we can call the ds_site.msc. That's the socket key for the site and services. So a default domain controller after the promotion, the default site name is this one, default dash first dash site dash name. So for a proper naming, you should change it. And one more thing is, you can add subnet here to assign to different sites. Because if you bind the subnets to the specific site, most of the domain related services, it will look up the same sites. Okay, for example, perhaps I add a sublet, this sublet to this site. If a member like 192.168.111. Let's say 50, when the computer log into the domain, it will detect the member to as a member as the site of the default first site name. So it will first utilize the domain services like domain controller or exchange services or SharePoint kind of things. Use the same site services first. And some of the services requires you to set up the sublets and site properly in order to function. So in each site, there's a container servers. That's where we can see our domain controllers here. In general, after the promotion, give it a 30 minutes or an hour or so, there will be a automatically generated replication link show up there. But if you are really impatient, you can use the chat topology method to force the link generation. But you should get log in the DCO to do some basic chat first. One of the check is the DFS replication services. It will show you the domain controller is ready in the event viewer. Come on. Come on. Boy, you're busy. Come on. Cool. DFS replication. Oops, that's probably is that the DFS replication services successfully initialize the sys volume replicated folder. Blah 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 blah. So we can use let share to check if the sys volume is shared. Let share, yep, is here. This is important because the group policy, the logon script, is replicated using the DFS replication. So get back here. If you're a really impatient guy like me, so you can in the site and services, right click the NTDS settings, all tasks, check replication topology. Same thing to the other domain controllers. Okay, because we are in this snapping, we are connected to the DCO1. What we do just submit the API call. The program is calling the DCO2 to do the topology check on DCO2 itself. But in DCO1, we don't have that information yet, so we can get the information from and to the domain controller. Okay, replicate the configuration from the selected DC. Okay, so looks good. And replicate configuration to the selected DC from and to. Cool. Let's refresh the page. Yep, there we go. We got it. We got it. So there's a automatically generated replication link. For we have only 2 DC, it will suffice. We can right click on it, replicate now. So the replication link is working. Same thing apply to DCO2. Okay, that's all good. And then if you are having a multiple site, you may probably create a different site link here, but for this lab we are currently have only one site, so we are not using it at the moment. But be remember the default site link replication interval is every 3 hours, so adjust that value to suit your needs. I always set this to 15 minutes for my labs. For production environment, you may set it to a larger period of time, maybe 30 minutes, maybe 60 minutes, but 3 hours is just too slow, too long. Get back to sublet. Okay. How about we change that name to O1 Simple Pro. Okay. And then replicate the domain controllers. Cool. And there's a small tips. There's a command called repadmin, which we usually use this command to check the replication summary using the repsum. As long as there is no error, no fails, it should be good. Okay, after the domain controller promotion, we should check about the DNS setting. On the new domain controller, we have set both DNS pointing to the other and point to itself, but on the original DC01, we have to add the new domain controller to the DNS settings. And cpa.cpl. Okay, advanced. .102 is the DC02. Okay, looks good. Perform a DNS lookup. How about simple laptop RT? Okay, it gives me all of the domain controllers IP addresses. Cool. Okay, and one more dirty tricks for you for lab environment. There's a safeguard kind of things that will mess you up when you reverse snapshot of the DCVM under some circumstances. So I will disable it, but remember, don't do that in production environment. To do that in the latest version of Windows Server machine, a single PowerShell should be good. Set service gen counter startup type disabled. So just we put this one. Oops. Let's get back in. Come on. Oops. Okay, replication still goes. Hmm. Oh, there it is. The PowerShell basically disabled the generation counter device, so we are good to use Snapshot. But beware to when you try to restore Snapshot, try to restore the consistent snapshot. Don't restore a snapshot on DC1 on Tuesday and DC2 on Monday. They will make a big inconsistent. You still mess up your domain controller. Okay, let's go to DC02. Perhaps log off here. Oops, no. Here. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. PowerShell. Okay, this command again. Set service, gen counter, startup type disabled. And we put and remember after you promote the additional domain controller, or your members that includes member server and member workstation or other PC should update the DNS setting point to both your domain controller for resilience. And in the future maintenance, you can reboot your server one by one to maintain the AD services. Oh, what's the matter? Oh, I still have it. Okay. Wow, that's huge. Let's get back here. Okay, site and services. Replicate. Okay, cool. Replicate. Cool. So the rep admin should be also good for us. Oops. Replication summary. Okay. Okay, guys, that's it. In the next episode, I will talk about the certificate authority, which can help us signing certificate for future use, such as the secured LDAP for domain controller, and maybe signing the certificate for the vCenters. Okay, if you like the video, consider thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you. See you in the next one.